Internet. What up, Internet? What's going on? Tuesday morning here, lovely Tacoma, Washington, and it's back to the rain, which means we got to do some inside stuff. As you guys that have been following along, the fish room is continuing, and I have a different sander. I got this round high-speed sander that I've been using recently, and so I figured I would give it a try and see how well it worked out. And you can see me hooking up a weird hose to the shop vac to try and mitigate some of the dust. And this is one of those times where I failed. This thing just doesn't collect dust like I was expecting, and wasn't really giving me the surface I was looking for. I need a different sander, but I use this sander for a ton of stuff, and I just have never really had an opportunity to use it for drywall, so I wanted to try it out. And it is a fantastic sander, just not good for this application. I use it for a ton of wood projects and stuff, and it works out really well, but it just blows a ton of dust even with the dust collector on it. You'll see me later using my my palm sander. I had to kind of switch it up and use the and go back to using my palm sander, which will you'll see how much that clouds out the room, but not the biggest ordeal as long as I'm wearing my respirator, which is in the video you can see I'm wearing my respirator. It's nothing quite like breathing in gypsum drywall all day and pretty much killing yourself. So always wear your respirator if you guys are doing this stuff at home. A dust mask is not good enough for when sanding drywall. Get a respirator. It's $50 well spent. You can get them on sale or whatever, but get a good respirator. It's really important if you're doing drywall. Just with the amount of knockdown that I had to do after the first coat, I ended up switching out from hand and using my palm sander. It's much easier to do the sealing with a palm sander and have a little bit of power behind you than just scratching at it with a hand sander. The hand sander will come in super useful when I move over to do. I'm going to do the skim coat this morning and do the hand sanding after that. I'm actually using a 150 grit on this palm sander. It's not a DA, it's the straight back and forth one. Probably should have taken a picture of it or something and been mildly helpful, but I use a 150 and it really works well for 150 grit and really works well for the knockdown. And this straight palm sander is really good for all the corners and edges and all that kind of stuff. And then I'll come back with the skim coat and get that sorted out, and then we'll be off to painting. And today I'll be pouring the cement. This is part of the studio improvement I've been doing. This is part of the desk build. Actually, I had the camera out for shooting this portion, so went ahead, threw it in the video, and I got my butt in the camera, which as you guys can see, my pants are falling down, which is I apologize for that. That's unfortunate camera angle, but I picked up a stair tread. Now, stair treads are something that I find to be very useful in building all sorts of things because they're a really nice piece of wood. They've been kiln fired, so they don't warp or bend or do anything weird. It's a real nice solid piece of wood. I can't even get the staple out of the end of it. That's how solid a nice chunk like this is. And the pine, I'm actually using pine for this because that's more of the coloring that I wanted out of the wood. I didn't use an oak one, but the pine ones are only $10. So you're talking about a nice finished piece of wood for $10, and they really come in handy for doing hardwood projects and stuff like this, because you can just pick them up at any Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever. You can just go grab them. They're like $10. The oak ones are probably $30, so it just gives you an idea on the price break, dependent on the type of wood you're talking about. What I'm actually building here is an under desk mount for the keyboards and all that stuff, so I can get the keyboards and the mice. Yes, multiple computer mice off of the top of the desktop and allow me to, let's be realistic here, probably end up with more clutter on my desk. Just more space for more clutter. But I also worked on getting some of the stuff done in the studio. That'll be coming up in the video a little bit later. I have a little preview of some of the stuff going on in the studio. We've mounted the other monitors and got that stuff going. And then we have on order the legs for the other desk that's going to be going in here, which will be the podcasting desk, which will have a monitor set up on so we can throw stuff up on there and trash talk all sorts of nonsense that's going on in the news. As far as the podcast topics and stuff, there's obviously going to be a ton of fish stuff thrown in there, but we're also going to be kind of expanding a little bit with what's going on the channel and talking about some of the politics and things going on in just the news type shit, because realistically, this day and age, there's we have a lot of connectivity with the world, and it really seems important to hit up on some of these topics that are going on. And I pretty regularly get into Facebook conversations and stuff like that. And nothing against the written word and whatnot, but it would be fantastic to be able to have a bit of a voice and actually have a lot more topics and stuff to talk about with people that come on the podcast. I mean, we could sit here and talk about killifish for an hour, but it will wind down and get to a point where we'll end up having an issue. And I would like to be able to do more than just necessarily talk about just fish all of the time. So that's what's happening, and that's where I'm motivated, especially working on. Here's the little. I gave you guys a preview video the other day of some of the stuff going on, and you can see here. This is the under desk mount that's going on under here. The reason I went this direction is I was just going to get some of those drawers that go underneath that hold the keyboards and stuff like that. But a really nice one was like $110, and I needed 2 of them, and I really was just not even counting on spending like $220 or a couple $100 so that my keyboards wouldn't be on the desk, when we realistically spent the desk money on the desk. So I ended up working this out, and then I'm going to stain it the same color as the Butcher Block, because the coloring is just a little bit different. I don't know if you can pick that up in the video or not, but I'm going to stain it the same color, and I think it'll work out pretty good. I've been using it a little bit here this morning, and it seems to be working out just fine. I'm gonna have to build another bracket to secure it a little bit better, because all I did was just use 2 little angle brackets for the base of it, and I want it to have a little bit more stability. And yeah, I think it'll work out. I found a giant box of wires and all this nonsense that I got going on, and it's just pure chaos in here right now, but the pure chaos will turn into more. So that is honestly making me pretty happy. Here's the finished product of getting everything sanded in the fish room. We're coming up on the end of the video, so I got to give the shout out to the Amazon link, blah, blah, blah. Go to the Amazon banner at darkstararts.com, click through there and order your toilet paper, and gives us a little bit of a kickback. If you don't do that and you just go to Amazon, it's gonna activate whatever the last thing you clicked through. So it could either be us or it could be Facebook or whatever, but that's it. That's what's going on. Later.